Welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, let's talk about pressure. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser. Thank you for joining me today, tonight, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, this weekend, whatever day it is and time that you are listening. I just want to say thank you for listening. I appreciate it very much. I hope you're finding this content useful and helpful. If not, please let me know. If it is, please let me know. Thank you so much. Hey, I wanted to talk about this concept and this term pressure. And it means and can be applied to a lot of different things in a lot of different situations and a lot of different intonations. But I want to talk about it specifically in how you, as the leader of your business organization teams, use it to motivate, use pressure to encourage, use pressure to raise the ships, as it were. Because pressure can be good and bad. Pressure always, when there is too much of it, in any type of situation that I can think of, if there is too much pressure, leads to disaster. There's a breaking point that everybody and everything has that will eventually, whatever that pressure is, will cause it to fail. And we as humans, we as workers, are no different at all to that concept, and are not immune to it by any stretch of the imagination. So it is important to understand pressure, and that, one, it can be an extremely effective tool, especially when you've got somebody on your team that maybe is struggling. Maybe they're not quite getting the picture, as it were. Maybe they're not understanding where they fit or what is expected of them. Maybe even after multiple conversations of, hey, this is the expectation, you're not meeting it. And then you start to apply that little bit of pressure in the form of, these are the next steps if you want to continue working here or if you want to continue being a part of this team. So pressure can be used extremely effectively to motivate people, because sometimes the reality is sometimes people just don't know. And oftentimes people have not performed at a level or nor know that they're even capable of an output or a effort that you may be requiring in your business, in your organization. And it is on you as the business leader to educate, right? So certainly you start with this. You don't hire people that they have no idea what's expected of them. They have no idea what the standards of performance are or the metrics that are used to measure that. So those are certainly the first steps, but I'm talking kind of down the road a little bit of maybe after that initial period and that grace period has been given, the training has been received and practiced and has had time to kind of take root in that person. And now it's time, for whatever reason, for a lack of performance, a lack of effort, a lack of results, you have chosen to start applying a little bit of pressure in the hopes of encouraging an increase in output, an increase of effort, an increase of, again, whatever that looks like for your industry, that would mean a more successful, productive, efficient type of employment engagement. But how you apply that pressure is extremely important. The level of pressure that you apply is extremely important. And I'm hoping that you have thought through this. I'm hoping that most of you that are listening already have a little bit of a methodology and a little bit of standardization of how and to what levels and degree you apply pressure in order to inspire performance out of your people. And then, as well as just the concept of applying it, well, what's the result that you're going for? Okay, because without an end result that you're shooting for, there is no way to measure the success of your actions and how it affects that other person. Supposedly your subordinate or a coworker or whoever it is that's deserving of having that pressure applied to them to increase their performance. And then also, how are you recognizing when maybe a little bit was applied, too much was applied? What did I say? Maybe a little bit too much has been applied, or when not enough is being applied, you're not getting it, or they're reacting in a way that you're not anticipating or didn't anticipate or not expecting or not desiring. See, those are all kind of indicators that the wrong kind of pressure is being applied, and maybe too much pressure is being applied. You can't go from, 0 to 100, theoretically speaking, in the sense of one extreme of, okay, hey, you're doing great over here. We appreciate you coming in. And, hey, did you have a chance to read through that training manual and practice our sales scripts? Or, have you practiced the, throwing the pizza dough up in the air to make the pies? And then going from, hey, you do that wrong one more time and you're done. You're out of here and you owe us all this money back for the training that we've invested in you, right? Those are two extremes. But you need to have this gradual increase in order to, one, spur and have them rise to the occasion, rise to that level of pressure versus just trying to kind of ram that pressure, whatever that is, down their throat in order to expect them to rise to the occasion under duress, really is what that is, because too much pressure creates duress and anxiety and things of that nature. But that's not to say that there is not occasion where that is what's needed. You maybe have somebody that is performing and then they stop performing. And after, several talks of like, hey, what's going on? And, you get the excuses or whatever is happening. And then it finally becomes time of, listen, we know you're capable of this output. We know you're capable of producing, but for whatever reason, you're not anymore, but it's still required that you do if you want to continue working here, So then here's this kind of probationary type of a system set up. But I wanted to ask you, and please absolutely leave a comment, for your industry, what do you use as ways to apply pressure in order to create those results that you're looking for in your business? Please leave a comment on whichever platform that you're watching or listening on. That would be fascinating to hear. And then a step beyond that is, and this is a hallmark of a mature organization, an organization that has purposely built their procedures, purposely built their culture, is they have a universal application of that pressure. And what that means in the nutshell is, say you've got a sales team, is when Rick over here, stumbles a little bit, then you start to kind of apply that little, whether it be extra training or, hey, you're going to lead our role playing in the mornings, but Sally over here is stumbling as well, and you don't do any of those things, right? You do things that are considered maybe, whether it be favoritism or however you want to look at it, but that pressure and those consequences are not applied equally and fairly across your team. But there is certainly has to be room for, Sally doesn't respond to that type of pressure. You've tried it before and it didn't happen. So you, as is your responsibility as the leader, whether it be team lead or business owner, you need to kind of figure out and work through that particular kind of situation in order to get the results you want. So just be cautious of the kind of the double standards and how that is viewed in the rest of your workplace, right? And that we kind of understand that. And, we never want to be, as the leader, accused of having a double standard amongst our subordinates or team members. This was a fascinating topic that was brought up on a training call that I was on recently. And they were talking, in this case, it was a sales team, and they were talking about applying pressure. But in this particular example that I was party to, it was a high performance team, like legitimately, one of the highest performing sales teams on the planet, arguably. I mean, I'm sure they're definitely up there with the top, if not the top already. So it's already a high pressure environment. So the sales manager that was running this training and this talk was kind of talking about how they use pressure to get people going, and the results are phenomenal for them because they're people, that's the culture that they've already built. So I guess that would be the third point to kind of go along with that, is the methods and procedures and practices of applying pressure in your organization must coincide with the culture of your organization. Okay, so if you have a team that's just lackadaisical in nature, and that's what you've accepted for the last several years, you can't all of a sudden come in there with the heavy pressure of, you guys all need to start performing or you're fired and I'm cleaning house, right? That's just, it's incongruent and it doesn't get you anywhere because it's a disconnect, right? But if you've steadily built over time where you are a super high performing team, everyone shows up early and they run to the bathroom instead of just lazily stroll, and they stay until they hit their marks or their quotas, whatever that is, in the sales team type of example. then you have built that culture, and people expect, and often if they're in that culture already, they thrive on that little bit of pressure. And a lot of times it's a matter of just reminding them of that, to where they kind of get back to that performance level, if that's the case. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So pressure absolutely can be a phenomenal thing when applied appropriately and with intent, versus flying off the handle and you're creating this culture. But we'll save that for another podcast down the road. So thank you for joining me today, tonight, this afternoon, this morning. I really appreciate it. Hey, no matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.